but then like they're either not coming in enough or not doing the work on their own outside of that.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty clear that unless they get more sessions, they're not going to achieve it.
Yeah.
And so you can either like just keep going as you're going, and it's either like snail pace or just stagnant. But like they've already said, oh, it's sort of like forward. How do you kind of go? Well, I think we need more sessions.
So is it more that you're trying to upsell sessions, or is it that you feel bad that they're not achieving their goal?
Well, like a bit of both, because some people are like, it's kind of hard to tell them this, but you're just like, well, you're not coming in by yourself.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're not achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And you're coming to see me once a week, and you're just maintaining because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like partly, like obviously it'd be great to be earning more money, but it's also partly like, I genuinely don't think you can do this without me.
Yeah.
How do you kind of like say that to people without just coming across like this?
Wanting to try and sell more money. Yeah. Okay, so I think there's two parts to that. So I think the first part of that question is how you feel about them not achieving their goals. So often they don't really care. Like you care more than they care. And you look at it and go, oh my God, you know, you're only coming in once a week, and that's really frustrating for me because I think you can be so much better, but they actually don't really mind. So have that conversation with them. So you might just say, let's say Pablo says he wants to run a marathon, and I'm like, cool, we're going to work out a plan for how we're going to do that. So tell me about your day. And he's like, well, I look after my child until 4, and then I go to work from 4:30 until 9 at night, and then I come home and then I do the vacuuming. And so I'm like, okay, well, where's your spare time? Oh, well, I've only got 20 minutes once a week. Then you can just basically go, you know, it's great, I think you want to run a half marathon or whatever the goal is that they might have. But I really don't think that your goal and what you're able to give up are in alignment with each other. Yeah. And that's okay to say that to somebody. So so we need to either reassess your goal or we need to reassess what you're doing. Yeah. So that's probably the first thing I'd do. And maybe relate it to even something that they might understand a little bit better. That was so cute. Maybe even relate it to something that they might understand a little bit better. So people understand things like money and saving. So if you said to them, right, okay, well, let's say that your goal is you wanted to take a trip to Hawaii and you want to do it by January next year, but you're only willing to set aside $1 a week. Are you ever going to get to Hawaii? And they'll be like, no. And then you're like, well, that's kind of what it's like with your goal. So your goal is Hawaii, but you're only giving $1. So if we can get you to give $10 a week, like not, you know, obviously not cash value to me, but if you can give $10, you're going to be a lot closer to that goal than you're going to be if you're giving $1. So then they understand it because they're like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, so just, there's going to be something in their life that they'll understand, and it's just kind of finding that thing. So another one they often use is talking about like a small baby, like if they're not getting something or if they're only practicing it once a week. I'm like, just imagine yourself as like a small baby. So like a baby learning to walk. If you had a small baby learning to walk, you wouldn't pick it up and put it down and let it walk one day or like for half an hour and then it fell over and you'd be like, well, that's enough until next week. What would you do? You'd pick it back up, you'd go again, and you'd keep going. But you're like the small child, you don't know how to do this skill and you're coming in for 30 minutes a day. Would that get a child walking? Probably not. So just kind of trying to refer it to other, like take it away from being like a money thing. Yeah. Does that kind of help? Yeah. Okay, so that's number one. And then number two, getting to people to commit to more stuff. Well, it depends what their barrier is, if it's cost or time or... So I did have some ideas for that, by the way. Where are they? This double printed, it's now really confused me. Oh yeah, here we go.
Again, like some people, I agree with you, and that's a really good point. A lot of the time I probably do care more than they do. But some people come to me and they're like, I really want to lose weight, or like, I really want to like do this, and they're like obviously very, very keen.
Yeah. And
then they just don't, and you're like, and you like believe them. Like,
it's not you to disbelieve them.
They've come to you and they've paid you money and they like work really hard on the sessions.
Yeah.
Then you like look at their access and they haven't been into next week and you go, and they go, oh no, I was just busy. Like I'm definitely going to come next week.
Yeah.
Just don't. And it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. So you always have to also treat them like, and like that's something I think sometimes trainers get caught into the traps of doing. That you've always just got to treat them like you are having an adult to adult conversation. So never parent them, never try and like scold them or be like, oh, you know. So the conversation is just simply, oh, so what do you think got in the way of you getting into the gym this week? Yeah. Oh, it was my time. So then rather than going, oh, well, everyone's got no time, or like shaming them, or, you know, we all know that. And they know that too. That, I mean, you know, that they're not stupid. They know that they probably could have made time if they really wanted to. And so then you just put it back as a question like, okay, so next week, great, next week, how do you think that we can get more time to get you in? Yeah. And let's make a plan for that. Because your job is basically planning their shitty life to get exercise in and to eat better because they don't know how to do it or they don't want to do it. And it might not happen this week or next week or the week after, but eventually something will hopefully click and they'll go, oh yeah, like I think I can get in for that extra session or whatever it might be. And then when they do that, then that's like golden day. Yeah. So we're talking about, so I just said if it was, is it something based on cost or like if they're saying, oh, I can't afford that session. So these are just a few things that I wrote down to do with like if someone says, oh, I think you asked that question as well, was like, I charge this, but I can only afford this. Was that something you asked? Yeah. Yeah, so let's say that you charge he asked a lot of questions, it was great. No, it was really good. So let's say that you charge $30 a week and a client comes in and says that they've only got, like you've done the 2 free sessions and then it's kind of got to the stage that you're trying to sell them onto something else, and you say to them, like one of the questions I always ask is, what is your expectation of a PT when you first meet someone? Because they might go, oh, I want to see you once every 6 weeks. So there's no point in even going down the aisle of, let's see if we can find you a weekly time, So first of all, say to them so that they don't feel like they're being, they're locked into something they don't want to do, or how do you see a PT fitting into your life? That's another really easy one. How do you see a PT fitting into your life? Oh, I was thinking maybe I might train with you once a week. Great. These are my prices, or this is what I charge. Have a look over them and let me know what you think fits best with your budget. So that's a really easy line. Again, it's not, it's just they can look at it and then they can tell you what they think. So you've been really clear and open about it. But let's say you charge $30 a week and they say, well, I can actually only really got $20 spare a week. So what can we do about that? So you could take the $20 a week from them every week that they've got spare, see them once a fortnight, and on the alternate weeks, send them a program for that extra money, for instance. Or, are you full? Are you fully booked? If you're not fully booked, take the $20 from them, charge them $20, and see them until you're full, and then put the price up. Like, your rates are flexible, and you're probably making more money earning $20 an hour at this age than most people are earning in any other job, to be honest. So, even if it's not the full rate that you thought that you were going to get, can they come with a friend and split the cost of the session? So $15 each. Someone that they know that they might want to, if they don't have a friend that they can bring, is there someone in your head that you're like, oh, they might get on with such and such, or this person's got really similar goals, I could maybe hook them up to, train together and see if they want to just pay $15 each and come in for half an hour. Packages is always a really good thing because it gives you, especially this time of year, by the way, Christmas thing is a really good time to do your packages. So you might say, hey, no worries, like even if it's not true, just when they say I've only got $20 a week, oh, well that's perfect because I do a package session which is $200 for 10 sessions, but you prepay it, and then I just tick the sessions off. One, it eliminates if they cancel, doesn't matter, you just remove one of the sessions. Secondly, you get $200 cash, like straight up in the hand, right before Christmas, perfect. And 3, they've managed to get their for what they can afford, and you filled a time in your day. And then if they're a student, I actually do things like student rates. Like you don't have to be fixed on what your price is. But you can, if it's someone who you genuinely think is going to get really good value out of it and they can't afford it, and you're not full and you want to help them out, then there's always something you can do. Like, oh, well, I happen to have an off-peak session that you might be able to come into, and I charge a little bit less, or put them in a really awkward time, or you happen to be a student, but when you get a job, my prices will be X. Because if you train them for a year and they really enjoy it and they then go and get a job, they're probably going to stay. Yeah. Does that kind of help?
Yes.
Cool. Right, so on that same kind of note, I think one of the other things that trainers probably don't do enough of, and I think is really fundamental, is to do free stuff. And I don't necessarily mean give clients free sessions, but don't be afraid to do stuff without charging. So Les Mills do lots of opportunities with things like that, and I honestly think that they're missed by a lot of people. So things like round the bays, it has to be what you're into, but like round the bays, or like you might want to take you already do mobility stuff, upstairs, yeah. So just something that you do that you could do for free, or that you could offer for free, or if you can kind of help someone out without charging, or if you can go over to like a company and do something. So I went over to MB the other day and did a talk to them over there, and I didn't charge them for it because I was like, well, I'm going to get in front of 50 people. So even if it gets me no leads, it's getting my name out there, and that will be of value at some point, like maybe not today, but sometime in the future that will be of value, Yeah.
Do you have any main places that you would do that for, or think would be best
to go and I think it depends what you're into, what your thing is. But I do recommend. Actually, this is something else that I was going to talk about. I just had so much stuff that I wrote down. So I reckon one of the good things to do is to make connections with people. So, you know, if your client says to you, "Oh, well, I've been to see the physio," like if someone says to me, "I've been to see the physio," I always go, "Oh, who did you see? Who did you see?" Because the same names will come up over and over again, and eventually you'll get to know, like, I went to see a podiatrist. Who did you see? John Sloan or Darren. Like, it's always going to be the same two. And then you can go and meet them and say, "Hey, I've actually got a couple of your clients," and you'll be unbelievable how many shared clients you actually probably have.
Tommy and saw BJ the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
So everyone knows John Sloan's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went through him. He's amazing.
Yeah, so you learn a name like that, you contact John Sloan, even if you don't get a chance to see him, you just say, "I just wanted to introduce myself, I work down at Les Mills, I've been there for a year," whatever it might be, and we've got a couple of shared clients. This is my email address, so next time if you see them and you find anything that you think that would be great if we could work on, can you let me know? So A, it shows you care about your client outside of like this 30 minutes. B, you made a really good connection with someone who's already really well known, and that's great, because you can kind of leverage off that. So who do I have for that? Osteos, physios, your doctor, doctors around the area, even just like the health stores or a product store that you maybe shop at. Like if you're really into like, I don't know, what do people take these days? You're into amino acids, for instance, and you always go and buy them from somewhere down the road. Like go and have a chat to that person and say, "Hi guys.
How are we going?
Good." And have a chat to those people. So another one, now that these two have walked in, it sparked my memory. One of the best things that you can do when you start PTing, and it probably sounds really snobby, but is actually go and talk to the old PTs and get to know them better. Not old. Oh, I don't mean like age old. I mean senior, experienced PTs. Because like one of the things that people often say to me, like I've heard this multiple times and I find it really quite amusing, is that people say, "Oh, people think you're a real bitch." And I'm like, why? Because I'm busy? If I was a guy and I was busy, nobody would think that I was a bitch. They would just think I was a busy alpha male. So why is it different when you're a chick? Because I'm like, because I've got to get somewhere. So if you can get in touch with those PTs and have a chat to them, chances are they're full, and chances are when they get leads, they're looking for someone to pass it on to. And if someone has bothered to have a conversation with me and talk about what they do, I will give them leads. So Nikki, who was here before, Jess, who's up at the other gym, both of them when they first arrived sat down and had a big conversation. They get all my leads now because it's like, you've bothered to have a conversation with me. So I honestly think they're like, that you must pass on a fair few.
Tom gets quite a few of mine because he
Because you guys,
people once.
because you guys, spend time together. So I think it's a really, really valuable tool. Same with the MCs as well, But I think even more so PTs that already have experience. Rant over. So and the other place you can get leads for your best clients. So you said, I think Tom said one of the things that he sent me was that the people that already come in already love you and they're already committed. They are the best people that you can get leads from because they already love you. They already think you're great. And so by saying to them something along the lines of, if you've got anyone that you know, or hey, like they talk about their husband or their wife or whatever it might be, and then that person like suddenly hears about you all the time, then you can say, look, if they want to pop in for a free session, no worries, just let them know, and I'll give you one as well for referring them on or something along those lines. So they already really think you're great. Okay. Yeah, Christmas presents, here you go.
It's a present you give them for them to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Very good.
So do you take time off for Christmas?
Not this. I'm not really taking. Basically, what I'm going to do is between the 3 days, I'm just going to see who's here. I'm going to open up one day, and then when it's full, if more people want a session, I'll open up another day.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to be coming in for like higgledy-piggledy bits. Okay, you also asked a question about nutrition, Tom.
Yeah. So it was.
How do you get them changing food habits or something?
Yeah, because like some people again, they'll come in and they'll go hard out in the sessions and they'll work really hard.
Yeah.
But then like you go, how's your food this week? And they're like, okay, this, and I hate this, and I hate this, and obviously there's something quite hard to change. How do
Yeah.
you sort of go about, because obviously, like, I'm not going to just go to someone, oh, hey, you need to like completely cut this out, or you need to just start counting calories like straight off the bat. You try
Yeah.
to ease them into it.
Yeah.
And I've like figured out a few ways to kind of help for some people. Like for one girl, it was literally just, hey, pick 2 days this week that you aren't going to like have a massive brownie at lunch.
Yep.
Because she was just having brownies every day, and then we try and like build it up. But like, how do you kind of start people off? Because a lot of people get real as soon as you start talking about their food, even if you know that that's what they need. They're like, hey, back off my food. But
Yeah, I don't want to talk about
they're
that.
like 120 kgs, and they're like, well, I want to lose weight.
Yeah, I think food's a tricky one because it's got so many emotions behind it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it really is kind of a crutch for a lot of people. So, like, if it was something like that where I wanted to talk to them about food and I believed it was an area that needed help, again, this is kind of where it comes into the probably be an adult to adult rather than like trying to parent them or trying to like, you know, prosecute them for what they're doing. So I would just say something like, you know what, and if at any stage you want to have a conversation about your food, let me know.
Yeah.
And then it's there, and then they can either go, yep, cool, I do, or shit, no, I don't want to. And then as you move on and they get more trust with you. So, oh, actually, I was going to say, I was trying to think of something. Have you guys all had phones only in the time of iPhone? Has anyone been like pre-iPhone?
I was pre-iPhone.
Pre-iPhone. So you know how phones used to change all the time, and you'd buy one and you'd spend like about 2 weeks just going, oh my God, like the key that you used to hit for like this, you know, the full stop isn't the full stop anymore, and you don't know where to go.
Multiple times.
Yeah, and then suddenly it would change, and like you know, before you could do it like while walking and not even looking, and suddenly it's not like texting anymore because you've got this new phone. And then after a couple of weeks, it becomes really familiar. So that's what this is actually was a couple of things. So one, with your clients, the more familiar they are with you, the easier it is to get into those topics. So it might be in week one they never really want to talk about it, but after a couple of months they might be a lot more comfortable, because when they first start, they think that you're just judging them on everything, like, you know, oh my God, this person's really fit, and they just think I'm fat and lazy and really slow, and I am, and these are all the feelings that I have, and I don't even want to come in the gym, and everyone's looking at me, which we all know is not true because everyone's looking at themselves. And then the other thing is for familiarity, I think, in my opinion, is being on the gym floor and being seen. So this is the other thing where I'm like, fill your sessions first, don't worry about how much you charge for them, as long as people are aware that they're possibly going to be booted out of them. But fill your time first, because the more familiar you are to people that are coming in and they see you around, the more they will trust you. So if you're in here all the time and they're like, oh, there's that trainer again, oh, there's that trainer again, rather than the trainer that's in there very randomly once every now and then, that they're like, oh, who's that? I've never seen them before. So become really familiar to people. Sorry, that was a bit of an aside. So nutrition, probably what I would do is, like you said, start with just one little basic thing and try and change it, and try and make it something that's kind of an add to rather than a take away from. So I would say something like, let's see if we can add in drinking some water. Let's see if we can add in some leafy greens, and make it really simple in a way that they can understand. So to us, things like, you know, fat, protein and carbs are like really obvious, like we know what that is, but a lot of people don't even know what that is, you know. So it's making that really simple. So I've got things like, one of the things I do for protein, for instance, is if I say to someone, oh, so do you understand what protein is? As long as they're not vegetarian, but do you understand what protein is? And if they go, oh yeah, maybe. So I'll say to them, okay, so protein has got the letter I in it, and protein is anything that comes from things with eyes. It's really easy. So a really simple way that you can kind of, you know, or, oh, I had a salad the other day. Cool, what was in the salad that you had? Oh, pasta and ham. Okay, so it was a pasta salad. That wasn't really what I meant by fill your plate with half a plate of salad. So what could you talk about for salad? You might talk about above the ground vegetables versus below the ground vegetables. Or if you say a vegetable, they're like, oh yeah, I had potatoes. And you're like, that's not really what I meant, but so try and give them really, because they don't know. Yeah, like they don't know, you know, so they're thinking, oh, I'm doing the right thing, and you're going to be really proud of me. So if you break it down so that's in really simple terms, so it's like above the ground vegetables, protein has got eyes in it, you know, like really simple stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then they'll think of that. So I just have like a kind of fuel rules. Oh, another one of mine's like the rule of grandma. So I'm like, if grandma wouldn't know what it is, you probably don't want to eat it. If grandma couldn't make it in her kitchen, yeah, so the rule of grandma. So just follow the rule of grandma. What does that mean? If you look at the back, there's something in it that grandma didn't have in her pantry, or she couldn't make it, just don't go near it. Rule of grandma, yeah. And then just get them really focusing on health rather than like weight, because weight's quite a confrontational, you know, especially for women. If you train women, it's quite a confrontational thing. But if you talk about like, if you are healthy your weight will come to the place that it's meant to be. And that goes both ways. That goes from if you're too thin or, you know, too fat or whatever it might be. If you focus on your health first, then yeah, your weight will end up where it needs to be. And then last one I had for that actually was just having standard conversations about that thing. So it doesn't have to be even confrontational to you or to them. You might just say something along the lines of like tell them a story about like the margarine and the candle wax. So margarine, when it does not have artificial colour in it, looks like brown, like that grey kind of candle wax colour. And originally it had to be dyed pink to show that it was a non-food product. So when people were purchasing it, it was pink coloured. And then there was this big move in profit and like economy and exporting and importing, and they were allowed to dye it yellow, and that's why it's now yellow. So you just talk about things like that, and they're like, oh, that doesn't sound like margarine's very good. And you're like, oh no, it's not really. So you haven't said to them, shit, don't eat margarine, it's really bad for you. But you've brought it up in conversation in a way that they've kind of gone, oh, okay, that doesn't sound great, probably don't really want to eat that. Or they'll ask more about it. Yeah.
Or things like Coke was originally a cleaning product.
Yeah, and it was green as well.
And you can still clean with that one?
Coke. And if you put a tooth in Coke, like a child's tooth, and put it in Coke, it rots away.
Somebody ever read the history of how margarine came up to be like margarine?
No.
So funny though, because I went on a nutrition talk with someone, and we went through the supermarket, and there was a group of us. And when we got to the margarine, she was like, "Oh, people tell you it's one molecule away from plastic. It's just bullshit. It's still better for you than butter." And I was like, at that point, I went,
Did you leave?
"Yeah, I went,
Yeah.
it's not for me."
Yeah.
And frozen veggies were her go-to as well.
Frozen veggies in an emergency, I can understand. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how like one sentence like that can kind of throw you off, eh?
They did I think in the television, no, was that program here a while ago in which they put everything to the test and see what was true and what was not.
Yeah.
They did a liter of one frozen veggies
Oh yeah.
just to see the nutrition value.
And what was it?
They said it was quite close.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess the big thing is with any of those products is their marketing, right? So actually there was one I was looking at last night, I just put a post on Instagram. So this is something simple that you were talking about. So it's nothing magical. Someone was talking about how that it's called a hazelnut spread. Oh, I don't even know what it is. And it's got a 5-star health rating on it. And so I went to the supermarket and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Picked it up, took a photo of the back of it. And it was like
How much of it?
sorbitol, maltodextrin, I don't even think hazelnuts was in there. And it's got a 5-star health rating in New Zealand. And so I just put the picture of the label up and said, I just don't understand how this is a 5-star health rating. That's it, that was basically all it said.
On the news last night, I don't know if you guys caught the news last night, it was around food being like healthy and got its 5-star rating and how shit it was.
Yeah.
And how they're going to crack down on it a lot more.
Yeah, that's good because it's terrible.
Yeah. Like some of those mueslis,
Yeah.
one of them had gone up like 50% in sugar over the last.
Yeah, they had the crappiest awards.
Yeah.
They put it on stuff
Yeah.
yesterday.
It's
For all of
quite-
the
yeah,
things
it's
that were
interesting.
labelled healthy, but
Yeah.
they won the crappiest awards because they weren't.
It's good
So
that
bad.
it's getting changed, but it will take a while for it.
Yeah, before it gets in. But just, just really simple things like that, because although that to you, like to us, we're like, oh, muesli bars, we probably not, most of us probably wouldn't eat a muesli bar, but our clients think they're really good. Like, a lady said to me the other day, oh, so on my healthy days, I have toast with butter, jam, and a cup of tea. And I'm like, what do you do on your unhealthy days? Like, seriously? And she's like, oh, on my bad days, I have a scone. I'm like, okay. And so, sometimes they think, well, I had a scone, so it wasn't the worst choice because it wasn't a muffin. So that to them, it's really different. I had sushi because sushi's really healthy. Like that's all the.
I think I might overthink things.
Yeah, just-
things. And then for me being new, I find so much contradicting information that I'm
Yeah.
like, now I don't even know what to post because
Yeah.
it's contradicting, and I'm like, I don't
But it's also okay to have an opinion on something and then to later on change your mind because research changes. Like, and not to be embarrassed about going, oh, I really believed it was this way, and actually now I've read something else that's not. Because A, it shows that you're upskilling, and B, it shows that you can, you've actually can change your decision based on something. So I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I think it's because I feel a sense of responsibility of putting out the wrong information. That, I really don't want to give people wrong, but you're right in the fact that it's always evolving, so it's not necessarily.
Share what the basic finds, and then whenever you find something better, then you share that.
Yeah. All right, so I just got some final top tips, unless anyone's got a question about anything specific. Rambled about a lot of stuff. So,
It was just about coming back like next year. like getting.
Oh yeah, so what do you do?
Yeah.
Okay, so what? Again, I'll just tell you about what I do. So basically, from about now on, I start saying to people, "Oh, so what are you up to for your Christmas holidays?" Like,
Yeah.
really simple conversation. It's not, let me get my diary out and start booking you in. You know, what are you up to for Christmas? Oh, we're going away. Oh, cool. When are you going? Are you finishing up on the 22nd, whatever it might be? Oh yeah, we're going away till the 4th. Cool. So then you pull out your diary,
Yeah.
and you're like, you know, or you decide what you're doing for your holidays. Oh, I'm away until
I
the.
started the conversation.
I'm away. Talk about where they're going, what they're up to, what you're doing, what do they do for Christmas, and then you go, oh, cool. Well, I'm going to be away from the 10th. So, shall we make your next session? Like, if normally it's a Tuesday. Should we make that Tuesday the 12th
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock? I'll take you out of the other 2 weeks. Does that sound good? So it's just not even. They're just in the diary.
Yeah.
Then just don't even think about the year being like end of year, start of year. It's just another week. So it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be any different if they said to you, "Oh, I'm going on holiday in July for a week." You'd go, "Oh, okay, I'll just take you out of that week then." So it's no different. So really simple, really easy conversation. And if you do want to work through that time and they aren't going away, if they say, "Oh, I'm not going away," then you just like really, you know, some people just want a break from the gym, but quite often they just actually don't mind coming in.
Yeah.
So then you just kind of say, "Oh, well, I'm thinking I might work the Thursday, Friday of Christmas week. Did you want to grab a session on those days?" And cool if they do, and if they don't, then that's fine too. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, so
If you're giving really good value throughout the whole year with your clients, it'd be nice to come to this other point where your clients come to you saying, "Hey, I'm away this time. Can we start this session on this day?"
Yeah.
If you know you're in that situation, you know that you've given a good throughout the year, the
Yeah.
last 3 months, whatever it is, giving some really good value that they just want to do with you.
yeah, and some of them will pay for that time anyway. They'll go away for Christmas and they still put the money through. They're like, "Here's Christmas money for you," or whatever. And on top of that, same thing if you're going away. So I think, does everyone have like some way that they can contact their clients? So you've got to have a database. You've got to have your clients' email addresses. If they're coming into the gym and you're seeing them regularly and they're on social media, follow them and comment on any stuff that they do if it's related to the gym or, you know, whatever it might be. Try and get yourself so I've got like a private Facebook page for all my clients because it's unbelievable the connections that they can form with each other. So like last weekend we went and ran the escarpment top at Paikokariki together, and then we went out for lunch and they didn't know each other, but you know, there was a whole bunch of them that came and did that. It's just added value. It doesn't cost me anything. I'm going running anyway, so they can come if they want or don't come, whatever. Or you might, you know, like if there's something that you're about to go do that you think they might want to come along to. But then if you're away, you can use that page to go maybe like, because obviously they'll probably be into the same kind of training that you're into. Like it would be very unlikely that someone would come and see me if they wanted massive biceps, for instance, so it wouldn't really matter. So you just put down something like, "This is the workout that I'm doing today, why don't you guys have a crack of it and let me know how you get on?" So they're not paying for that week while you're away, but they're still having connections with you. I think that's really important as well. You can do that in your spare time. You can build your Facebook page.
I know. I think I don't like the full-on public kind.
No, just make it like a secret group. Yeah.
You know, I have the impression that we all have the belief that we have, you know, our job is sort of goes up and down, and fluctuates. So do you have something that you normally do when those fluctuations go down? You're really
Yep.
busy, man. What just getting to work and, you know, just.
I just look for opportunity. Like I know it sounds really dumb, and I guess because I've done it for so long, you just don't really think about it. But I just look for opportunities wherever they kind of may arise. So it might be like any of these things. So if I had a really easy day, it might be a free coffee with a client that I've seen for a really long time. It might be putting something on my Facebook group about an event that's coming up and would anyone be keen to go and do it together. It might be planning a promo. Like quite often I'll get halfway through planning a promo and then I realise I'm way too busy to actually do it anyway. No worries, I'm way too busy to do it anyway. But it's kind of there in the background if I want to then use it later. So you might go, like New Year's is coming up. Easiest time to do a sales promo is New Year's Eve, like New Year's Day, because everybody wants to get fit. So if you're a little bit quiet over Christmas, don't think of it as like that you're not working. You're still working, but just commit that time to admin and do something. So you might go, right, I'm going to do a New Year's promo. So you might say to your clients, I'm going to run a 6-week New Year's Eve challenge. It costs $5 to enter. Like they're not going to give a shit about paying $5. Really easy money. And I'm going to send you 3 workouts within that time, and I'm going to send you 4 nutritional tips, or I don't know, whatever your thing is, you know, and get them kind of committed into that. So yeah, there's always something you can do. Or I'm going to do a promo over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to charge $100, but you can come in as many times as you can, and these are the free sessions that I've got available, first in, first served. Or, yeah. Does that help? Thinking. Okay, so my last top tips, which I actually wrote down as final top tips on my page. So first one is, what kind of trainer are you, and who do you love being around? I reckon that's the best thing. If you find people that you enjoy spending time with, like I mean, my kind of, what people see me working with is kind of middle-aged females and, you know, males that are kind of into business and probably quite like cycling. I've got a lot of blokes that quite like riding bikes, because I really like riding bikes. It's really easy to have conversation with them about it. Be authentic, focus on what you love and what you're good at, and really find your niche. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, do not offer unsolicited advice. Do not walk up to people in the gym and say to them, your squats are really crap, I reckon I could help you be better. People don't want to know that. They will come to you. Just say hi rather than giving them advice. Number three, your client is an adult. Do not scold them like a child. Number four, your way is one way, but it is not the only way. So don't be offended if a client decides they want to go and train with somebody else. Or, like, I think me and Ray and Dark and Rodney have all shared one client. Oh, no, MA.
You know. Oh, really?
Yeah. And if you do get a client from somebody, don't be afraid to go and have a chat to that trainer about them, because sometimes you might get a snippet of information. Like, I might say, hey Duck, so this client, MA, has come and seen me. What was your experience? And she might go, oh, well, you know, they were nice, but they frequently didn't show up, or whatever it might be. And then when that person frequently starts not showing up for you and is blaming you for not getting the results, you're just like, okay, it's probably them. So, you know, and equally, I think Ray's still going strong with that client. And equally, if a client goes and trains with someone else, again, don't be offended by it. You know, it might just be that you were not the person they're looking for, because really, they probably only really come in because they kind of like you, and they probably quite like your chat. Client focus, so make sure that the stuff you talk about in their life is what they're interested in. So I've got two friends that I train on different days, and then one day they decided to train together, and one of them said to me, oh, so how's Mr. Vincent going? Mr. Vincent's my cat. And I was like, oh, great, blah, 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 told her a story. The other one goes, who's Mr. Vincent? And I was like, my cat. And she was like, how do you not know that she's got a cat? Well, the other girl doesn't like cats, so it's never come up in conversation, because she doesn't care. But the other chick loves cats. So what is it that they're into, and find like a connection, and learn stuff about their life, and don't be afraid to like send them a message every now and then, just to kind of, not to let them know you're thinking about them, that's a little bit too lovey, but you know, to like literally let them know that you're thinking about them. Like, how was that session you did yesterday? How are your legs a couple of days after we did that leg workout? Did things go okay at the hospital with your mum? Whatever it might be, like just give that little bit of added value to it. Ask them for opinions on maybe a new workout. Like, for example, I do recipes, so I might say, hey guys, I need 2 people to trial a recipe for this week. Anyone keen?